most of my career.
Yeah, it makes sense. So, I mean, what was your biggest hurdle during the transition? I mean, what was the toughest part for you?
Uh, the lack of camaraderie, right? I mean, there's
Mm,
when you talk to most people, they don't really necessarily miss the job of the military. Like I don't miss having to be deployed, or I don't miss having to do all the stuff I had to do, but I miss the people and the tight knit group. You don't necessarily have that in the corporate world, you know, and that's hard. That's hard for people. If that's all I knew. And so that was probably that transitioning into you're kind of like an island on to yourself. You don't have those buddies around you. That was pretty difficult, and just kind of getting used to the culture in the corporate world was not very fun.
so did you seek out some mentorship or reach out to buddies? I mean, what was your
Yeah,
bandwidth?
I had a few buddies. Most of my buddies were stayed in and retired. And so I'd talk to them. My unit that I was in before I got out, we would have reunions, get together, hang out. But there was two or three guys that I keep up with even today, and it's a lot easier today than it was kind of back then because the internet is so much prevalent. When I got out, I got out before Google was born. You know, it's
Yeah,
like the internet was a baby and dial up, and so it was a little bit more difficult to keep up with folks like that. But today, it's really important to kind of keep those connections and just checking in with people and seeing how they're doing. And always tell them I was making twice more than what they were making, and had an office that was inside. That was the other thing. We worked outside a lot, and when I got out, went to school. I was like, I need to find a job where I don't have to work outside anymore. And so that's what I did. I focused on a job that I didn't have to do manual labor or work outside. But when I did get laid off that one time in Atlanta where I ended up working in construction for a few months. Um, you know, because I didn't have a
can't tunnel
job.
outside.
So it's like, so you got to be careful what you say. I don't want to work outside, but you do what you got to do. But that was kind of the camaraderie and just hanging out with the people and the having a common mission. In the corporate world, you don't really have you want to think you have a common mission sometimes, but a lot of times people have their own agenda
Yeah,
and their team has their own priorities versus what you're trying to do, and that can get frustrating.
a lot of individual missions that probably might meet up with the common mission.
Right. And that will be very frustrating to anybody that has not been in that corporate world, because it's like we're supposed to be one team. Doesn't always work that way when you have different priorities and different, budgets.
That's a fact. So, I mean, what was your biggest surprise in that first year getting out? That thing that nobody told you about?
Oh man, it's so long ago. I'm trying to think. Well, I will say, and this was I didn't know anything about salaries, you
Yeah.
know. You got to know what you're worth and you got to understand what you're worth. I was offered a job, took that job, did that job for 8 months, found out I was making, 4,000 below the minimum of what they normally pay in that job because I didn't ask questions. I just said they asked me what do you want? And I'm like, I'll take that. That sounds great. And that was a mistake. that was that was very, that was an eye opener. Um,
Oh, and they
because
were happy to save the 4 grand too.
yeah, if you ask for 28,000 and they normally pay 32, they're going to pay you 28,000. So I always tell people, know what you're worth, know the market value. Don't go in too high, don't go in too low. Just kind of hit that sweet spot. But you don't think about that in coming out of the military because that's not really on your, what I mean? That's not something that you do salary negotiations in the military at all. It's probably better now. People probably have a little bit more visibility of that kind of stuff. But again, this is pre-internet, pre-job boards. There wasn't a whole lot of that back then to be able to go out and understand that. But that was definitely an eye opener for me.
So, what do you think? is the best approach you've heard for people asking about negotiating salaries?
It's tough. Like in our area, there's not a whole lot of negotiation. We usually have a set amount that we post, and if it's somebody that's got an exceptional, and we can take their background and their resume and prove to HR, hey, this one we want to bump them up, they'll do that, right? You won't get what you don't ask for. That's the one thing. So if you really want a certain salary, you need to ask for it, and then you need to be willing to say, no, I'm not going to take this job.
Yeah. Question, Jesse, go ahead, sir.
All right. Hey, thanks, Sam. So just a couple questions. First of all, what kind of insights can you give to someone like me who is transitioning out of the military and pivoting into software engineering?
So you want to definitely, you got Python development right there, right, on your title.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
you want to have a couple of things in your pocket as far as that you're familiar with, that you're good with, right? One thing that I would really focus on is AI, right? Understanding how to implement AI within an organization, how to use it, how to, because in my role, we're looking at we're a Microsoft shop, so we're looking at integrating Copilot into our platform and giving the resources to the field management to be able to go in there and use it and find hotspots and do their own analytics just by asking a question, right? Understanding that would be is something really good to have in your back pocket. Scripting languages, just being able to put together different things like that. Uh, I think for us, we do .NET, we do Python, we do some other things. Just having some experience, being able to show, hey, I've done this, right? Being able to translate what you've done in the military into corporate ease, right? And I tell everybody on this call, if you're doing a resume, you need to leverage, the AI tools out there. Okay, this is what I've done. How do I make this sound like corporate? How do I relate this to a corporate position? And you always want to,
Right.
look at what position you're applying for, and then be able to format your resume in a way. Because again, when I got out, I had to figure all this out on my own. If I'd had Chat GPT or Copilot or one of these other ones, man, I'd have been set. But trying to figure out how to take leadership from the military and everything you've done in the military and translate that into corporate leadership it can be challenging and daunting. Um, are you in school now, or have
So
you?
I'm doing Coursera, trying to get as many certifications that I can. Um, I'm thinking because I've heard other speakers come by and they say you don't need a degree. You just need to, you need projects. You need to show that you know what you're talking about, and then you could actually do what you say that you can do. So,
Yeah,
do you agree with that?
I to some extent, it's depends. If you have
Hmm.
enough years to be able to equate those years into years of experience, say you did 20 years in the military and you had, X amount of that, you did some exposure to development work, right? You
Right.
technically could try to translate that into maybe, 4 or 5 years worth of corporate experience. There's a
Hmm.
formula that they have. But sometimes companies won't even look at you if you don't have a degree. That may start changing some as they're looking for resources, and we're kind of looking at colleges being kind of, college is not necessarily, you don't have to necessarily go to college to be a good developer, right? And they're seeing that.
Yeah,
But definitely the degree opens up doors,
I
and
see.
can get the door.
And just a couple more, please. Are you are you guys still hiring junior developers, or is
We do, we
that no
do.
longer a thing?
Now
Okay.
we have a pretty good intern program at FedEx, and they usually
Oh,
open it
really?
up, I think around November for the next summer.
Okay.
It's a really good program. I've actually the guy, my newest recruit was in the intern program working for me, and I hired him as a junior developer, and then I was able to bump him up to developer two after his first year because he's just an outstanding developer. But yeah, the internship program is top notch for, we
Mhm.
have, I think they had like 300 positions and they had over 12,000 people apply.
Wow.
So it's pretty, competitive. Um, but not to say that if you know somebody, I've helped people at least get looked at, right? I
Yeah.
can't help anybody get hired, but I can say, hey, at least look at his resume, you know.
All right. Yeah, that's getting my foot in the door, so to
I
speak.
see the
Yeah.
wheels turning.
Well,
Yeah.
the
And
other thing, one more thing on that, FedEx.com under careers has got tons of jobs, right? Half the executives in FedEx started in the hub, started as package handlers. So it's not, you
Mhm.
know, you may not get your foot in, that traditional way, but there are
Mhm.
ways to get into FedEx. And then once you're in, applying and transferring to different types of jobs once you're in. So that's always an option as well.
That's funny because my job in the military was logistics, and I was literally pushing cargo
Yeah,
24/7.
yeah, that's what we
So
do.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like I feel like I could get into a leadership role doing that, but I hate that. I don't want to do that anymore. That's why I'm trying to get into
Well,
software engineering.
You hate it because it was the military job. No, you'd like it
That is
is
very true.
they're actually going to pay you a little better, and you get to wear little
Yeah.
shorts and stuff. I mean, it's kind of cool.
You wouldn't believe the amount of loops we had to jump to wear shorts on the flight line. It was
No,
ridiculous.
I believe it.
Act of Congress, man. And my last question, sir, is what is the like average day to day for a software engineer at FedEx?
Whew. There is no average day. I'll use my team as an example. I've got a developer that she's a principal. Principal is just like the highest level you can get before you get into management. Her day to day is, we got a daily stand up, lasts about
Hmm.
20 minutes. Then you have meetings on requirements review. So our user group would submit these stories, and then they'll do an internal review with the development team to see if there are any outstanding questions or things we need to clarify. There's some coding, some coding like today. Um, we're building a brand new interface for our global security operations center. She's been working on it for a week and a half. Got another week and a half. We're going to roll it out. That's all she's doing. I
Hmm.
excuse her from all the meetings and stuff like that. But there's meetings. Every Wednesday we do a what we call a demo or story grooming. It's a 2 hour session with our users. We show the work we've completed that week for them. um, Tons of meetings, lots of meetings, a lot of phone calls. We work 2 days at home, 3 days in the office. Um,
Oh,
so there's, most of what I do, I'm on Zoom calls like this, having meetings.
okay.
There's
Well,
design. You got to design the documentation. I always joke, 2 minutes of coding is 20 minutes of documentation. You
yeah,
know, that's because
yeah,
you can thank the regulators for that.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for your answers, and I'm gonna keep trucking along, man. I'm gonna try to get to where you're at one day.
All right, you will, I'm sure.
Kenneth, go ahead.
Thank you.
First off, Sam, thank you so much for being on here. I never even thought about FedEx, tell you the truth. Don't know why, but I just haven't. Um, so you said something a little bit earlier when you were talking about the levels of leadership, principal to management, that type of stuff. Um, for FedEx, I guess what is so I've been in the Air Force 20 years in IT as well,
Mhm.
so master's degree and all that good stuff as well. But what are, I guess, the elephant in the room, what are the chances of if I were to apply for any of these manager roles that I would actually be considered or looked at, if that makes sense?
No, it makes total sense. Again, it's how you present your resume, right? That's the first step. Make sure you have the right, if you see a director's job out there that you're interested in or a manager's job, I wouldn't, limit yourself to a director role. I would look at manager and above, right?
Okay.
Write the resume for that job. That's the biggest thing I could tell you. People submit resumes all day long, but they don't customize it to the because it's hard. I mean, who wants to write like 15 different resumes and do a cover letter? That stuff's got to be tailored to the job because then that shows that A, the recruiter knows you tailored it for that job, and B, you got to have the right keywords in there, right? Because some companies, we don't do this, but there are companies out there that won't even pick you up if you don't have the right keywords. They're using
Yeah.
AI to flush you out. But each one of our resumes gets looked at by a person, so it's got to be easily read. It's got to be concise, and all the key things need to be in there. We hire people from the outside all the time. We really do. So you know, it's not unheard of. Like a lot of what we do in security, we hire from outside because that's the only place you can find folks with security experience. You're not going to find most of those internally. Um, so that's, get your resume to reflect the job you're applying for, apply for it, and just keep on trying. Don't limit yourself to just be a director, limit yourself from a manager to a director as well. I've had opportunities to move up and apply for director's jobs in this role, but it's a lot more work. And I don't want to say that negatively, but it's like I got to really like that job if I want to put those many hours in. If
That's
I'm
fair.
putting, 60, 70 hours in being a director, you got to really like it. None of the jobs that were open, I really thought I'd love to do that. And but I mean, that's the next path from a manager's director. I know most of the people. I went to this specialized course a few years back. Matter of fact, it was during COVID, and everybody I went to court through that course with are all directors now. Some are VPs. So it's the movement it's there, just kind of depending on what part of the company you're in. IT's there's always changes going on, but don't limit yourself to just, hey, I gotta get a director's job. Because some of the managers' jobs will pay you pretty well.
Yeah,
So
I'm seeing that on the website right now to where I think there's one for enterprise architecture. And, the only thing that really dissuades me from even putting in an application is it seems highly technical, where I know it's leading teams to get those jobs done with a little bit of that experience with those specific technologies. So that's where I'm like, okay, do I, don't I?
yeah.
Trying to figure that part out.
Let me just share with every job I've applied for and gotten, I was scared to death. The first thought in my mind was, I don't know if I can do this. I already got the job now. I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
That's
I'm
fact.
I'm a poser, right?
Little
But
imposter syndrome.
yeah, you got the experience, you got the dedication and drive. You can make it work.
Hey,
So
sounds good to me.
don't let that stuff scare you. You're gonna be fearful, but don't worry about it, man. You probably have had more challenges and other things in your life than starting a new job.
No, that's fair. Well, I'm gonna probably hit you up after we're done here and just try to have another conversation if that makes sense.
Yep, that's fine.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Dakota, go ahead, sir.
Hey, thank you for being here with us. Sorry, I'm driving right now. I not driving a FedEx truck, by the way. I saw that comment on there. I have previously what do have background with FedEx. I was a FedEx dock worker. So should I, if I was to apply for some of the FedEx jobs that's on the website, should I focus a lot on that as well and do a lot of people I worked around during those times because they were also looking because I fixed a lot of the terminals the terminal boxes that we scanned into. Should I like have a big focus on references from that as well as my Navy career, or should I just continue to focus on my Navy career since I haven't been in the FedEx? I haven't worked for FedEx for 10 years.
I would say, depending on what job you're applying for, right? If it's a FedEx job and it's, relevant, I would put in your FedEx experience in your resume. I wouldn't leave it
Okay.
out. You don't want to
Okay.
have a gap. You want to be able to explain, hey, 10 years ago I did this, now I'm doing this, but it builds a story, right? It tells a story. So you want to add that to it. And especially if you're coming to, trying to apply for something in FedEx, it may not be related. You don't want to focus so much on I was a package courier. Focus more on what you did with, any kind of systems. Like, hey, I was responsible for updating the, terminal systems when, patches were needed and stuff like that. I'm just using that as an example. I don't know.
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
know if that's what you did. But yeah, it's again, it goes back to tailor it for what you're applying for.
Okay.
But don't
Yeah.
leave it out. Definitely don't leave
Okay.
it out.
Okay. What would they? I guess also a part of that question would they be more inclined to see that I've worked with them? And I know most of the people that I keep in touch with from FedEx have moved up a lot. Like that's one thing I love about FedEx is that they've moved people up if they want that. And so if I have I guess that's a giving. If I am still in good qualms with them, and they remember me like working hard, just to have a lot of those then in there.
Yeah, I would say unless you got fired by FedEx,
No.
then I would always include it. And the thing that you cannot discount is your networking. All right. You network in the military all the time, but you don't
Yeah.
think about networking in the civilian world. Right.
Yeah.
Networks are huge. Most of the jobs I've gotten because it's not that I knew them to get the job. It's that I knew them and they pointed me in the right direction. They either
Right.
mentored me or, hey, this person over here is a peer of mine. He's hiring and wants you to apply for that. So networking is huge. Just getting to know people in the civilian world, different roles. We all know people, right? We either go to church or clubs or whatever. We all know people that are not in the military. Build that network. I see you at SOC analyst, cybersecurity. I know that from FedEx here in Memphis. I know I don't know if there's any out there right now, but they recently hired a bunch of or posted a bunch of positions for our global security operations center to do
Okay.
analytics. It's not cybersecurity, but it's related, right?
Right.
Finding patterns, looking for, bad actors, insider threat type stuff where
Hmm.
they're working with cybersecurity folks. So I would look at that. I mean, don't be afraid to move, right? A lot of
Yeah.
people don't want to move. Um, Man, I tell you, if I lost my job today, I'd be like, I'll move wherever. I don't care.
Okay.
I mean, I'll pick up and go because I've done it before like 5 times. So,
Especially in Memphis.
yeah, especially in Memphis. Now, I don't want to talk bad about Memphis. It's supposed to be an uplifting call. Um, but anyway, that's my suggestions on that. I would definitely put it in there, but I'd focus it towards what you're trying to do.
All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Excellent. John, go ahead, sir.
Hey, Sam. Thanks for coming to talk with us today. This is going to be kind of a hardball conversation a little bit, so I just want to throw that out there.
Great. Don't ask me a hard question, man.
You're security forces. You're used to hardball conversations, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the advice that we've been getting from people coming in is talking about, hey, you got to use AI, you got to use AI. But no one is giving us like actual like practical examples of what that looks like. So I just want to kind of get your perspective when we're talking to businesses and they're saying, hey, we want to see examples of you using AI. Is this a conversation about, hey, I used AI to help work my resume, or is this a, hey, I'm using AI tools, I now have a better idea of its limitations, like chat's not carrying over because each instance is its own thing, or like how AI struggles with like complex tasks.
I think it's how AI struggles with complex tasks, right? It's understanding the basics around what AI is and how it can help you in your business. Like one of the things that I'm looking at is, okay, I've got 30 something zone managers in this region. A zone manager is a manager that has 12 security people who report to them. Those 12 security people are all responsible for facilities. So one security guy could have 18 to 20 facilities. We have a loss, it's charged to a facility. So when as a manager, how do I use AI to tell me, hey, where are my worst facilities? What are my top 3 facilities that give me loss? So I type into with AI being embedded into our case management system, I type in there, it knows who I am already because I'm logged in, right? Hey, tell me the top 3 locations with the most loss. It shows me. But what are there any commonalities of the losses? Yeah, they're all phones. Okay, now I'm narrowing it down, right? So how do you use it like that? How do you help it to drill into the data? Because it's really all you're really, I could write a query for all this, but maybe you couldn't, right? Maybe you don't know SQL. Maybe you've never written a query in your life. I'm not saying you don't, John. I'm just saying you as in general. Um, it just gives me the ability to further dig in and analyze data in a one, I guess I want to say like a normal conversation, right? Hey, who are my top 3 loser investigators because all their cases are still open? Boom, there it is, right? I didn't have to do anything. I can even talk to it, right? I hit the little microphone and speak to it, and it'll do it. But just kind of understanding the power of what it can be used for from an analytics perspective, I think that to me, that's what I look for analytical thinkers, people that can, take a problem and think through it, um, and kind of find the commonalities of an issue. Um, you'd be surprised. There's a lot of people out there. You got to tell them what to do. All right. If I got to tell you what to do, do I really want you to be on my team? I mean, I need in a technology based world, you need people to at least try something. And that they don't, okay, I tried, I couldn't figure it out. No, that's different. But if I got to tell you what to do right off the bat, here are the 3 steps I would do to find that problem. Then you're not helping yourself. Does that answer that question, any?
It does. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
You got another one? That it? That wasn't too hard.
So yeah, I'll throw one more out there. So kind of the example that you're using, like, I mean, that totally makes sense from a business case. But for some of us veterans, especially if we're coming out of the military, like the military is still not using a whole lot of AI. So what can we bring in from like our personal experience to show that we're using AI in some of those analytical cases for you to go, oh, hey, wait a minute. They may not have used this like in a business sense, but they have the same concept, and that can definitely port over to like what we're trying to do now.
Yeah, that's I thought about, there's, hey, I was looking at moving, so I asked AI, what's the difference in my salary here and what it would be, cost me to live here. That's all just basic general stuff. What I would do if I was you is I would actually go to and try to do some actual online training and get some certificates on how working with AI and how to set up AI and how to, like, we're going to training for Copilot on how to set it up within our environment, and just understanding that piece of it. Because I don't know, I couldn't tell you from a personal perspective, what you could do to show me that AI outside of, hey, I've done this training and then maybe build something, hey, I don't know. I got this web page that you can input something in it, it'll tell you this or whatever using AI. That's really the kind of it is a disadvantage, like you said, because you're in the military, you're not really using it, but learning it, taking some kind of courses is probably what I would focus on.
Yep, awesome. Thanks.
Jose, go ahead, sir.
Hey Sam, how's it going? Thank you
Awesome.
for coming to speak today. First off, I want to say relax, your job is safe. But if we're being honest, like I've got strategic battle plans to go towards a career path that especially looks like yours. Not necessarily in FedEx, but I really like the IT manager role and just interacting with everybody and making teams and figuring out solutions. You mentioned earlier that you had you do a lot of physical security for FedEx.
Mhm.
What are like some of the tech limitations that you're up against? Like, are you guys still running like Windows XP and half of your computers are put together with duct tape, or like is this something that you can genuinely fix with like talent?
So the majority of I say a third of our investigators would just rather have a pencil and a paper. And then a third are probably in between pencil and paper and a laptop. And then the bottom are the new guys that don't want to do anything other than be on their phone and do everything on their phone. So you have to
Is this
satisfy
where
all
like
these
the
folks.
co-pilot thing comes in that you're saying you're trying to like gear them towards that? And
Yeah, so we have a system. We use Microsoft Dynamics. It's Dynamics 365. It's a customer relationship management tool. Normally, like sales, we use it to map out their customer base and their sales. We use it to do case management. We also do use it for our auditing. So each location has to have a certain amount of audits done every year. They do it through our system. It's kept there, but it's got a smooth interface that they can do on their phone, or they can do on a laptop, or they can do on a tablet. We have come from 11 years ago to a server that was under somebody's desk to a full-blown cloud solution that is managed by my team, and the world has the opportunity to use it, and all the data is in an Azure database. We can report off of it, we can trend off of it. So when I think about where we started and where we are today, I mean we're top notch in technology. We're nowhere near the bottom of the tier as far as what we can report on, how we capture the data. Now, do the investigators like it? No, because it's work, right? They have to actually go in someplace and type their notes in and investigate and do all that stuff. But from a data collection and a data management and being able to say, okay, where are my effective areas? Where are my not so effective areas? Where do I have I can look at it from a customer perspective. AT&T, where are their losses this week? How does that look? And then if you have losses, spiking up in one area, then you send in some ground teams and they go in there and they start looking at the people and see if they're stealing them or whatever. So it really does matter to have good underlying technology and data collection so that you can do that analytics work. So from a technology perspective, I mean, we're not in the weeds. We've got some good stuff out there that and it's pretty cool. I mean, I like it. And I'll be looking over my shoulder if I see you coming.
I appreciate it. I appreciate your answer, and I do have one more thing to ask. Um, so do you genuinely think like talent could be a fix for some of the like are you seeing like some of these older techs that don't want to implement this or giving you pushback? Do you see like newer talent coming in and replacing that mindset? Is it like a culture shift in FedEx?
It is a culture shift, and we've got a lot of new leadership in our department, our global department. As people retire, people are promoted up, and really data is key to anything. If you have the data and you know how to use it, you can solve a lot of problems. And you really have to have the ability to learn and understand how to look at data. I would say everybody that if you could have the opportunity to learn one thing is study analytics, study how to present data in Power BI, and what it means, and be able to explain what it means. Because data runs the world, and there's no getting around it. There's no more just, hey, I just want to do my one little thing over here on paper and pencil. It's looking at the data collectively and trying to figure out, what's working and what's not working. Um, I will say you brought something up from a leadership perspective. One of the things that you got to really understand is, when you deal with people in the civilian world, they're not military, right? It's a different way to come about. Like you can't just tell them what to do, right? It's like because
Especially
they're
unionized
not gonna,
civilians, man.
huh?
Especially like unionized civilians.
Yeah,
They'll be like,
definitely
nope.
unionized. Um, Being a leader in this culture is a little bit different. There's some people I have to tell what to do. There's some people that I just check in with them and they do whatever they are doing or whatever they want to do because I measure the end result is did they get it done right. That was kind of a little it's a little bit of a change per se. When you get out of the military and go into the corporate world, because they can tell you to screw off and there's really not a whole lot you can do about it. Um, you can't yell at them or anything. So just kind of keep that in your mind too, because you'll face that.
Cool. Chuck, go ahead, sir.
How you doing, Sam? Quick question about data analytics and stuff you're throwing into AI. Do you guys worry about maybe your how the data is transferred from AI about like people scraping data to sell to your competitors?
Yeah, so most of the stuff we do internally is segregated, right? We either have something, home. We've got a couple of AI interfaces that are just FedEx alone. They don't get shared out uh, to the world. So now some of the stuff that people are, if you get caught going outside and doing chat GPT and putting a bunch of FedEx stuff out there, you're going to get caught. That's where our cyber guys come into play. So we're very, very cautious of that. Like when I talk about putting Copilot in, it's a module that AI built into just our own environment of Dynamics. So it's using that Dynamics data only. It's not hitting anything outside at all. So yeah, we think about that.
All right. Thank you.
Michael, go ahead.
All right, Sam, thank you for being here with us today. A couple of questions. One, on your comment that you made a moment ago, like if I have to tell you what to do all the time, probably not the best role. I know that's a bit of a stretch, but like with that, coming into an interview, say with you, and somebody asks a question, what does success look like in this role? Say a managed service type role.
Mhm.
How would you answer that?
So again, I said that flippantly. It's not. It goes back to the whole conversation of leadership. You have to kind of know who you're talking to and who you're directing. Because there are people that come in and are brand new. I wouldn't expect somebody to come in and know everything to do, right? But I would expect somebody that's been in FedEx 20 years, that's been a developer for 20 years, to be able to take the initiative and not have to be told what to do. Um, so success would be, hey, when your first year, 8 months, 6 months, let's say 6 months, your first 6 months, I want you to, you'll understand the basics behind Dynamics, right? You'll understand everything there is to know about the modules that we have. We have, 7 or 8 different modules. At least understand what they are and know where they are and how to use them. And then lead a we call it center of excellence, lead a center of excellence project, from A to B, right? Taking in requirements, developing them, designing, developing all that stuff. But I would be very clear of here's what success looks like. You understand what the modules are. You're able to interact with, the center of excellence teams to understand what they need, and then take one aspect of that and be able to take it from conception to development to testing to roll out.
All right. So for further on that, with the Dynamics 365, is that something that is managed by Microsoft for FedEx, or is that something that the say FedEx IT team handles the tenant actions and activities?
So Microsoft handles the cloud environment. So whenever something needs to be updated or a new push, they handle all that. We don't do anything with that. We handle all the interface, all the functionality, anything that has to do with what our users do. That's what we handle.
So does that include like say making new accounts for onboarding, um,
Yeah.
changing or setting up like SharePoint sites for different teams, setting up teams, workflows?
It could. It depends on, we would handle anything like that if like we try not to get into the SharePoint business of managing their SharePoints, and sometimes we get drug into it. Sometimes we push back. Um, New users are we have a system that they go through that request access. So that's pretty much streamlined systematically. It gets approved by management, then it gets approved on our side, and then they get added to the system. So but yeah, we had all that stuff outside of just the core cloud functionality of keeping it running, keeping it updated. We do all the rest.
All right, and last question for the organization being global. Um, are there how would you say the IT team is distributed across the organization?
So it's changed quite a bit in the last year because we went from multiple companies to one FedEx. So IT was basically its own entity. Now it's kind of embedded across the entities across the company as a whole. So we have, you got these IT folks here supporting security. You got your cybersecurity IT folks. You have your, uh, scanners and tracking people. So there's some overseas, but the majority of everything has been traditionally in the US. We do have a big contingency that's been set up in India, that's doing a lot of the maintenance and development work. Some of what we're trying to do is as a company is focus on, hey, what can we buy off the shelf and do very little customization and use that? Because at the end of the day, it costs X amount of money for licenses off the shelf, but it's a lot less development dollars because you're not specialized in it like they've done everything else over the last 40 or 50 years. And then you can also have people that are, living in India that are doing the maintenance requests, updating things that are fairly, simple per se versus this huge concept of building a brand new system. So that's kind of the direction we've looked at, managing software as a service and not heavily, making it customized just for FedEx, which is what we've done a lot over the last 50 years.
All right. Well, thank you for your time. I will continue this conversation with you after today.
Okay.
Hey, last one, Ken, go ahead.
Just had one more question I've gotten multiple feedback on. When you're going for leadership roles and that type of deal, are you still limited to a 2-page resume? I've heard some people say that, hey, it's okay to go up to 3 if it is a management role where you would be supervising. What's your take on that?
My personal opinion, okay,
Oh, yeah,
this is not a
definitely.
FedEx opinion. My personal opinion is if it's got the right information in there, I don't care if it's 3 pages. But if I get a 3 pager and it's not written well and it doesn't have what I'm looking for, then you've wasted my time.
That's fair.
Because obviously as you get older, right, you have more experience. I do have mine's only 2 pages, but I've limited my first 10 years and my military and what I did after the military just to basic little structure down at the bottom. So I didn't go to 3 pages, but I have looked at plenty that were 3 pages, and a lot of times it was worth it, and sometimes it wasn't. But it's really what you put in there. Make sure you don't want it so busy, and you may want to go to 3 pages to keep it from looking so crowded and so busy to where it flows better. It's just really your own personal preference, but I, I've I don't have a hard say on no to 3 pages.
Okay, thank you.
It's great, Sam. Thanks a ton for sharing this information and answering all the questions for the folks here. Obviously, it's going to help a lot of folks. Do you have any closing thoughts you'd like to share before you take off?
Yeah, just keep in mind I'm a manager, so managers make mistakes. They're not technical. If I said anything that was not technically correct, don't hold it against me. I am a manager. So my folks always get on to me all the time about that. It's like, no, that's really not how it works. Well, it sounded good. I do appreciate it. I do know where you guys are as far as, I mean, it's a tough, it can be a daunting road ahead if you look at it in the wrong light. And you just got to know that you've made it to where you are today. Um, there's no doubt that you can be successful in anything that you put your mind to, and that you just keep it up, just keep up the good work, and I'm glad to be here, glad to help out any way I can. It can be done. I'm not the smartest person in the world, and I have managed to be successful, either by my own determination or the will of God. I don't know, one of the two. So
Hey, take the success and enjoy it. Hey, once again, everybody, Sam Gibson of FedEx, I thank you very much for spending some time with us, dropping some wisdom, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. And we'll be right back here in a minute with Mark Adams.
thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Love
Oh,
that.
good. Matt, you're here.
Yep. No, that was great. That was good. He had some great points there.
Yes, he did.
Hey, Mark, how's it going?
It's good. Thank